Imagine you're a detective staring down a suspect you just know committed a brutal murder, but you have zero evidence. No weapon, no crime scene, no body. The guy walks free, gets a new girlfriend, and thinks he's pulled off the perfect crime. For 7 years, he actually did. Welcome back to Blacklight Files, your home for the wildest true crime stories on the internet. Today, we're diving into a mind-bending mystery from a sleepy German town right on the Dutch border. This is the unbelievable story of a highly toxic marriage, a frantic family search, and a police sting operation so wild it feels ripped straight from a Hollywood mafia script. We've got fake gangsters, hidden GPS trackers, an undercover bar confession, and a chilling discovery that absolutely nobody saw coming. Hit that subscribe button, grab a snack, and let's get into the dark, twisted case of Dorota G. Our story begins on October 18th, 2016, in Selfkant, a tiny German community practically touching the Netherlands. Inside a quiet, unassuming home, 32-year-old Manfred and his 29-year-old wife, Dorota, are stuck inside, called out of work with a nasty bout of the flu. Their 7-year-old son is safely tucked away at his grandparents' house, leaving the couple totally alone. But it's definitely not a cozy day in. The tension is boiling over. Manfred and Dorota are locked in a vicious screaming match over Dorota's late-night texting with another man. It's the kind of intense, wall-shaking fight that triggers a horrific chain of events that will shatter this village forever. How this argument ends is exactly where the story gets incredibly dark and mysterious. According to Manfred's timeline, the screaming match peaks right before 11 p.m. He claims Dorota was so furious she simply stormed out the front door into the pitch-black, freezing October night. Just a sick, angry woman taking a walk to cool off, right? Except she never comes back. Here's the first massive red flag that makes his story totally unbelievable. Dorota allegedly left without her winter jacket, her purse, or her mobile phone. Most importantly, she left without her glasses. Dorota had terrible eyesight, and friends swore she would never step outside blind into the dark. Oh, and she walked out on the 7-year-old son she absolutely adored. Would a loving mother, battling a severe fever, just march off into the cold with nothing? Her family certainly didn't buy it for a single second. The news of Dorota's midnight vanishing act doesn't come from the police. Instead, it comes from Manfred, who casually calls Dorota's mother the very next day to complain his wife ran off. When Dorota's sister, Katarina, hears this, her blood runs completely cold. She instantly calls Manfred, demanding answers. Manfred plays dumb, claiming he has absolutely no clue where she went. Naturally, Katarina tells him to call the police immediately to report her missing. But Manfred flat out refuses. He acts like it's no big deal, actively avoiding the authorities. This sends Katarina into a blind panic. A mother is missing, and the husband is acting like she just went to the local store. Furious, Katarina and her husband march straight to the police themselves. When the cops finally knock on Manfred's door, his story starts shifting dramatically. When patrol officers ask Manfred where his wife is, he initially sticks to the script. They fought, she stormed out, end of story. But after some heavy prodding from the cops, Manfred drags himself to the station to file an official missing persons report. Suddenly, his narrative gets a gritty upgrade. Now he tells detectives he didn't just watch her leave, he violently threw her out. He claims he caught her chatting with a guy named Tomek in the Netherlands and kicked her out in a jealous rage. He even admits to confiscating her phone, justifying it by saying he paid 1,000 euros for it so it belongs to him. Manfred is painting himself as the betrayed husband, which sounds plausible at first. But when investigators dig into the couple's past, they uncover a terrifying, deeply rooted pattern of obsession. To understand this chaotic night, we have to rewind. Manfred and Dorota were both born in Poland. They met back in 2005 when Dorota was just 15 and Manfred was 21, already living in Germany. By 17, she married him simply to move across the border. But this was no fairy tale romance. According to her sister, Manfred wasn't just jealous. He was an absolute control freak. He allegedly dictated every single aspect of her life. He didn't want her to work, he refused to let her get German citizenship, and he forbade her to talk to other men. It was a suffocating, isolated existence for a young girl in a foreign country. The marriage was a ticking time bomb. Whenever she tried to break free, Manfred pulled the most unhinged stunts imaginable to drag her right back into his web. How far would Manfred go to keep his wife leashed? Let me give you a soap opera level example. Once, Manfred noticed Dorota was getting a little too friendly with a male coworker. So he literally asked a buddy to punch him hard in the face, giving him a massive black eye. He then lied to Dorota, claiming her coworker brutally assaulted him, forcing her to cut all ties. If that wasn't insane enough, in 2009, when Dorota tried to leave him, Manfred allegedly faked a massive heart attack. He had a friend call her, lying that he was on his deathbed in the ICU, begging her to return. The man was a master manipulator of the highest order. Knowing this incredibly dark history, the homicide division officially takes over the case. They know he's hiding something very sinister. The Aachen homicide squad launches a massive dragnet, deploying search dogs, hundreds of officers, and dive teams across Selfkant. But their smartest move is checking the local CCTV network. Selfkant might be small, but cameras watch the gas stations and main intersections. If Dorota stormed out on foot at 11 p.m., a camera would have definitely caught a glimpse of her. Investigators painstakingly review hours of footage from the exact night she vanished. The result? Absolutely nothing. The streets were a total ghost town. There was not a single passing car or pedestrian out in the cold. It proves one horrifying fact to the police. There is zero objective evidence that Dorota ever actually left that house alive. So the chilling question remains, what really happened inside those walls that night? Desperate for digital clues, police examine the smartphone Manfred aggressively confiscated from Dorota. They hope to find secret messages or location data pointing to where she fled. But when cyber experts boot it up, it's a total digital wasteland. The phone has been entirely wiped and restored to factory settings. Manfred, who was incredibly tech-savvy, allegedly nuked the device before handing it over to the cops. But the police catch one major break. A terrified neighbor comes forward with a chilling detail. She tells police that on October 18th, right around 10:30 p.m., she heard a blood-curdling scream echoing directly from Manfred and Dorota's house. This wasn't an argument. This was a scream of pure terror. The timeline is tightening like a noose, but investigators still need to know who pushed Dorota to the absolute edge. The man on the other end of Dorota's wiped texts is Tomek S., a childhood friend from Poland living in the Netherlands. Their innocent Facebook chats had recently turned romantic. Manfred was furiously jealous, and for good reason. Dorota was actively planning her escape. Just 3 days before she vanished, Dorota sneaked across the Dutch border to visit Tomek, lying to Manfred that she was celebrating her sister's birthday. She was finally tasting freedom, building the courage to leave her toxic husband for good. Naturally, police heavily interrogate Tomek, wondering if he helped her run or if a lover's quarrel turned deadly. But Tomek's alibi is absolutely ironclad. Phone network records prove he was miles away in the Netherlands the entire night. He is completely cleared, leaving only one highly suspicious man in the crosshairs. Manfred wasn't just guessing about this secret affair, he was actively tracking her every move. Before Dorota made her secret trip across the border, Manfred allegedly slipped a hidden GPS tracking device into her handbag. But Dorota found the bug and immediately called Manfred, screaming at him over the phone. During this explosive call, she finally drops the hammer. It is totally over. She tells him she's leaving him, taking their young son, and moving away to Bavaria. This was the ultimate trigger. For a man obsessed with absolute control, losing his wife and child was a fatal blow to his massive ego. When police recover Dorota's deleted chat logs from the servers, they see her messages to Tomek abruptly stop at the exact moment the neighbor heard that horrifying scream. 2 weeks after Dorota vanishes into thin air, police officially arrest Manfred. The circumstantial evidence is absolutely screaming his name. They bring him in for intense interrogations, peppering him with questions about the scream and the wiped cell phone. But Manfred locks up completely, staring blankly at the wall. Meanwhile, forensic teams tear his house apart. They bring in elite cadaver dogs trained to sniff out human decomposition gases. They rip through the cluttered attic and swab the floors for blood. The tension is incredibly high. One single drop of blood and they have him. But the docs don't signal. Luminol shows a 0 blood spatter. Despite knowing in their guts that Manfred is a killer, prosecutors are paralyzed. Without a body or a messy crime scene, they can't charge him. Agonizingly, they are forced to let Manfred walk free.
With the police hitting a massive brick wall, Dorota's desperate family drives 700 kilometers every single weekend to organize their own independent searches. But this unsolved mystery quickly attracts the dark side of the true crime internet. Amateur sleuths descend on the small town, stomping through evidence and muddying the waters. Even worse, self-proclaimed psychics start harassing the family. One psychic boldly claims to have a vision of Dorota's dead body rotting in a specific patch of forest. Grasping at straws, the heartbroken family actually follows these bogus tips, deeply angering homicide detectives who beg the public to stop interfering. The circus of amateurs severely damages the official investigation, alienating the frustrated police from the grieving family. It is a massive mess, and as the endless months drag on, the viable leads dry up completely.
Months agonizingly bleed into years. The tragic case of Dorota G is officially labeled a cold case. The files are boxed up, put on a shelf, and only reviewed sporadically. As for Manfred, he lands right on his feet. He moves out of the house where his wife vanished, gets a brand new girlfriend, and relocates to the town of Geilenkirchen, 14 kilometers away. He takes his son with him and starts playing happy family all over again. For 5 long years, Manfred lives completely free, utterly convinced he committed the perfect crime. He outsmarted the cops, the dogs, and the public. But down at the Aachen police precinct, Detective Michael Fritsch-Hörmann hasn't forgotten the smug man sitting in his interrogation room. He's about to try a wildly unconventional tactic to finally bring him down.
Detective Fritsch-Hörmann is practically pulling his hair out looking for an angle until he remembers an old case from Berlin. In 2006, a schoolgirl vanished just 200 meters from her home. That terrible case sat cold for 12 years, until Berlin police sent undercover cops to secretly befriend a neighborhood suspect. After gaining his complete trust, the undercover agents got the man to casually confess to the murder on a hidden wire. It was a high-risk gamble that paid off brilliantly. Fritsch-Hörmann thinks, why couldn't that work on Manfred? Manfred is highly arrogant and has a massive, fragile ego. The Aachen police quietly secure the funding and legal approval for an elaborate deep-cover sting operation. It takes months of intense preparation, but the elaborate trap for Manfred is finally set.
In late 2021, 2 extremely shady characters named Murat and Leon roll into town. They are looking to rent a secluded property for their highly lucrative, slightly illegal import-export business. They set their sights perfectly on Manfred's old vacant house, the very place Dorota vanished from. Manfred is still paying the lease on it, drowning in double rent debt. Murat and Leon approach him with a slick pitch. Let us use this property for our sketchy border deals and we'll cut you in on the profits. Manfred is skeptical at first, but the promise of easy, untraceable cash is just too tempting to refuse. He agrees to help them. What Manfred doesn't know is that Murat and Leon are highly trained undercover detectives, and every single word they say is being recorded for a jury.
Murat and Leon immediately get to work on the ultimate bro trap. Over several weeks, they invite Manfred out constantly, taking him to expensive strip clubs and rowdy brothels, making him feel like a respected mafia kingpin. They are brilliantly feeding his massive ego. Then they drop the ultimate bait. One of the undercover cops acts incredibly stressed out, claiming he has a huge problem, a crazy ex-girlfriend threatening to blow their entire smuggling operation wide open to the cops. He looks at Manfred, desperate, and asks, "What should I do to fix this?" It's a masterful psychological play, giving Manfred a direct chance to prove his loyalty to the gang. And Manfred, eager to impress his shiny new criminal buddies, takes the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Manfred leans in closely and essentially tells the cops, "Don't worry, I know exactly how to make a woman disappear forever." The undercover agents feign surprise, pushing him for gritty details. Over the course of the sting, Manfred's bravado reaches terrifying heights. Trying to sound like a hardened mob boss, he allegedly gives himself ridiculous nicknames like the Butcher or the Handyman. He boasts about his immense criminal energy, acting like taking a human life is completely trivial to him. His defense attorney later claimed this was just pathetic machismo from a lonely guy trying to fit in. But the undercover cops keep pressing him, acting skeptical. "Come on, Manfred, you've never actually killed anyone," they prod. Finally, Manfred's fragile ego can't take the insult anymore. He is ready to spill everything. The thrilling climax of the sting goes down in a noisy Munich pub. Manfred is feeling deeply paranoid. He tells the smugglers to leave all their cell phones on a completely different table, terrified of being recorded. The undercover cops agree, though they are naturally wearing hidden body wires. Manfred looks them dead in the eye and says, "I have carried this alone for 7 years. I killed my wife." He finally lays out the horrific truth. When Dorota threatened to leave and take their son, Manfred completely snapped. He admits he violently pushed her down the stairs. As she lay on the floor threatening to call the cops, he grabbed a plastic bag from the kitchen, pulled it over her head, and suffocated her. He claimed he chopped up her body and scattered it in the woods. The grueling undercover operation lasts an exhausting 20 months. Finally, on August 30, 2023, nearly 7 full years after Dorota vanished, the trap snaps totally shut. Manfred is casually strolling through a hardware store parking lot when heavily armed SWAT vans screech to a halt around him. Officers tackle him to the pavement, pinning him down hard. The invincible Butcher is finally in handcuffs. But the craziest moment happens in the back of the police cruiser on the ride to the station. High on adrenaline, the arrest warrant is read to him. Unprompted, Manfred blurts out, "I am willing to show you where the body is, but I am no murderer." It's a bizarre half-confession, telling police one crucial thing. He didn't actually scatter her in the woods like he bragged to the fake mobsters.
Forensic teams immediately descend on Manfred's new house in Geilenkirchen, where he has been living comfortably with his new girlfriend. They don't have to look hard for evidence. Tucked away in the very back corner of his messy garden shed, investigators spot 2 large, heavy-duty plastic garbage bags. When an officer slices the plastic open, the horrific, unmistakable stench of decay fills the air. Inside the bags is a human torso. Manfred didn't scatter her ashes. For 7 long years, he allegedly dragged his wife's butchered remains from house to house, storing her in a shed just yards away from where her son played. Dental records quickly confirm the gruesome truth. It is Dorota. The agonizing search is finally over, and Manfred is locked away, exactly where he belongs.
The chilling case of Dorota G proves that no matter how clever a killer thinks they are, their own ego will always be their ultimate downfall. From faking a heart attack to walking blindly into a cinematic undercover police sting, this story is a wild testament to detectives who refuse to let a cold case die quietly in the dark. If you liked this video and want more insane, deep dive true crime mysteries told right, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below. Did Manfred's arrogance dig his own grave? Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next Blacklight file.